People who learn a language through music reach conversational fluency up to 35% faster than those who rely on traditional study methods alone. Not slightly faster. Not marginally better. 35%. That is the difference between struggling through textbooks for 3 years and actually holding a real conversation in 18 months. And the reason this works is not what most language teachers will ever tell you in a classroom. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover exactly why the human brain processes music and language through overlapping neural pathways, why this is one of the most underutilized tools in language education today, and the one insight about rhythm and grammar acquisition that flips everything you thought you knew completely upside down. By the end of this video, you will never think about language learning the same way again. To understand why music and language are so deeply connected, we need to go back roughly 40,000 years. Archaeological evidence from sites across Europe and Asia suggests that early humans were making musical instruments before they had developed anything resembling a written language system. Bone flutes, percussion instruments carved from stone, vocal harmonics used in ritual, all of this predates formal linguistic structure by tens of thousands of years. Many evolutionary linguists now believe that music and language did not develop separately and then converge. They believe they emerged from the same cognitive root. The same mental architecture that allowed early humans to track pitch, rhythm, and pattern in music was the very same architecture that eventually gave rise to spoken language. This is not a poetic metaphor. This is a structural biological reality. In the 1990s, neuroscientist Nina Kraus and her team at Northwestern University began mapping what happens inside the brain during musical and linguistic processing. What they found was remarkable. The brainstem, which handles the most automatic, involuntary processing in the human nervous system, responds to both musical sound and spoken language using nearly identical neural mechanisms. When you hear a melody with unexpected notes, your brain fires in the same regions it activates when you hear a sentence with unexpected grammar. The brain does not separate these two experiences as cleanly as we once assumed. It treats them as cousins from the same family. This has enormous implications for language learners. When you engage with music in your target language, you are not just passively absorbing vocabulary. You are training your brainstem to recognize the tonal patterns, rhythmic structures, and phonemic distinctions that define that language at the most fundamental neurological level. You are essentially rewiring yourself from the inside out. But here is what nobody talks about when they recommend using music for language learning. Most people do it completely wrong. They put on a playlist in French or Spanish or Mandarin, they half listen while doing something else, and then they wonder why nothing is sticking. Passive exposure to music in a foreign language has limited and inconsistent benefits. What actually works is a very specific kind of active musical engagement, and the research on this is crystal clear. A landmark 2013 study published in the journal Language Learning found that learners who sang new vocabulary in a foreign language retained 50% more of those words after 1 week compared to learners who simply spoke or read the same vocabulary. Not a small margin. 50% better retention. The act of singing binds phonological information to melodic contour, rhythmic stress, and emotional context simultaneously. That multi-layered encoding is what makes the memory so durable. When you sing a word, you are not storing it in one place in your brain. You are storing it in 5 places at once. There is another dimension to this that goes even deeper than vocabulary retention. Prosody. This is the musical quality of spoken language, the rise and fall of pitch, the timing between syllables, the stress patterns that signal meaning and emotion. Prosody is one of the hardest things for adult language learners to master, and it is also one of the most important. A person can have perfect grammar and extensive vocabulary and still sound robotic or be misunderstood because their prosody is wrong. Here is the fascinating part. Music is essentially pure prosody. When you listen to native speakers sing in your target language, you are absorbing the natural melody of that language in an emotionally charged, highly memorable format. French has a very different prosodic shape than English. Mandarin uses tonal shifts that carry grammatical meaning. Japanese has pitch accent patterns that change word meaning entirely. All of these features are embedded in every single song recorded by native speakers. Every song is a prosody lesson in disguise. Consider how children learn language. Before a baby speaks a single word, it spends months listening to the musical patterns of speech around it. Parents instinctively use a sing-song form of speech called motherese or infant-directed speech. The pitch range is wider, the rhythm is more exaggerated, the emotional expressiveness is heightened. Researchers have confirmed that this musical approach to language input is not culturally specific. It appears in virtually every human society ever studied. The implication is profound. Our brains are literally designed to learn language through music first. Adult learners who use music are not taking a shortcut. They are returning to the original learning mechanism. What does this look like in practice? Applied linguist Anita Collins has spent years studying what she calls the Mozart effect and its legitimate successor, the music and language integration method. Her work suggests that the most effective approach combines three elements. First, active listening, where the learner pays deliberate attention to specific phonetic or grammatical features in a song. Second, repetition with variation, meaning the learner listens multiple times while focusing on different layers, first the overall melody, then the pronunciation, then the grammar structure. Third, production, where the learner actually sings or hums along, which activates entirely different neural circuits than passive listening alone. Rhetorical question for a moment. Have you ever gotten a song stuck in your head in a language you barely understand? Almost everyone has experienced this with songs in languages they have never studied. The melody carries the words into long-term memory without any deliberate effort. Now imagine deliberately harnessing that same mechanism. Imagine if every new grammar structure you needed to learn came embedded in a melody you could not stop humming. That is not fantasy. That is exactly what strategic music-based learning achieves. The data from immersion programs reinforces this powerfully. Studies from Canadian French immersion schools in the 1980s showed that students exposed to French music as part of their curriculum outperformed control groups on both speaking and listening comprehension assessments. More recently, a 2019 meta-analysis of 47 separate studies concluded that music-integrated language instruction produced statistically significant improvements across vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar intuition, and overall communicative confidence. Across 47 studies. This is not a fringe theory. This is one of the most robustly supported findings in second language acquisition research. The practical applications for independent learners are significant. If you are learning Spanish, following along with artists like Rosalia or Juanes gives you authentic Castilian and Colombian prosody respectively. If you are learning Japanese, studying the lyrics of any J-pop artist trains your ear to pitch accent patterns in a way that grammar drills simply cannot replicate. If you are learning French, analyzing the syllable structure in a Stromae song teaches you more about French rhythm in 10 minutes than an hour of textbook exercises. The key in every case is active engagement. Look up the lyrics. Follow along in the target language. Pause and repeat difficult lines. Try to sing sections yourself. This is where the real learning happens. There is also a psychological dimension that we cannot overlook. Learning a language is genuinely difficult, and one of the most common reasons people quit is motivational collapse. Music is one of the most powerful mood regulators known to human psychology. Learners who integrate music into their practice tend to report significantly higher enjoyment, lower anxiety around speaking practice, and stronger emotional connection to the target language culture. Enjoyment drives consistency. Consistency drives fluency. It really is that direct. The connection between music and language learning is not a trend or a teaching gimmick. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Laying Bridge for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.